Hi all, Steve Kaposi here at the Adventuring and Camping School in Northeast Thailand. I'm just continuing my series of video tutorials on my adventure craft system, and hopefully I can wrap up the main elements in this video. Depending on how long I speak for, it might break down into two parts. So basically my adventure craft system has 6 main elements. I'll just go through briefly those 6 main elements. So number 1 is the 10 survival groups, or it's actually the 10 plus 1 survival groups. And that includes number 2, the top 3 survival skills, which is shelter, fire and cooking. Number 3 are my 4 camping scenarios. Number 4 is the gear ranking scale of 1, 2, 3. Must have, should have and can have. Number 5 are the standard equipment tables. Number 6 are the 3 main criteria when you're selecting gear or kit for your kit, your camping kit, your survival kit or whatever it might be. So I'm going to go through those 6 key elements very briefly, and it'll all make sense at the end of the video. The first 2 of those key elements, the 10 survival groups and the top 3 survival skills, which is shelter, fire and cooking, I've already discussed in an earlier video in this playlist. I've talked about the 10 survival groups and what they are, and also I briefly discussed those 3 top survival skills of shelter, fire and cooking. And then in a subsequent video I built a basic survival kit just to show you how effective and useful those 10 survival groups are. So that's already been discussed. Now I'll continue with the next 4 key elements to my adventure craft system. So number 3 were my 4 camping scenarios. So basically I've broken down your outdoor activities into 4 scenarios: a half day, 1 day, 24-hour and multiple day. And depending on how long you're going for into the outdoors, that's how you select the gear that you take. So half day is anything up to a maximum of half a day. It's from even a 10-minute walk, half an hour walk, 1 hour, 2 hours, up to about roughly 4 hours maximum. Just a half-hour trek, hike, scout, recon, bushwalk, whatever you want to call it. And in the 1 day, you just go to a whole day. It doesn't have to be strictly a whole day. It could be just more than 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, from morning to afternoon, from sun up to sundown. But it does not include any sort of an overnight. That's a full day out there walking, a bushwalk, but no overnight. The 24-hour scenario, the third scenario, is 1 overnight. It's 24 hours, it's 2 days and 1 night. It can be longer than 24 hours technically, but I just call it 24 hours as an easy way to call it. It's from, you leave on 1 day, you do 1 overnight, you come back on the 2nd day. And the 4th scenario was multiple day. That's 2 overnights and then for however long you want to go for. 3 days, 2 overnights and then some. So number 4 in my adventure craft system, the 4th key element is my gear ranking scale. 1, 2, 3. You've already seen this discussed when I talk about my building your fire kit. Steps 1, 2 and 3, the videos I already have in my fire making playlist, and also when I talk about my knives in survival group number 5, knives and tools, my main working knife and smaller working knife, the 10 features I look for in a main working knife, I rank already must have, should have and can have features. That's where I've already talked about the gear ranking scale, and the smaller working knife has 7 features. Some are must have, some are should have and some are can have. So basically number 1 on the gear ranking scale are things that you must have. You must have it. If you go walking, you must have 1 knife. You must have step 1 of building your fire kit. That's a video already online, which is basically a fire tin in an Altoids tin that's days worth of fire making you put in your pack so you can make a fire. And then there are things you should have. You don't absolutely must have or need. An example of should have was step 2 of building your fire kit. That's having fire starting implements and portable fuels that you keep on your person in a survival pouch on your belt. I hang mine around my neck. That was step 2. You don't have to take step 2 of your fire kit. Step 1 was the must-have, the fire tin you put in your pack, which I've just mentioned. You should have fire making on your person. If you lose your pack, on your person, on a survival pouch, you've got fire making. So that's should have, but you don't absolutely have to take it. So that's an example of must have and should have. And number 3 are can have items. Not must have, not should have, just can have. You can take an axe with you, even for a half-day scenario or a one-day scenario. I don't think you have to take an axe with you. If you can get by without an axe, that's fine. But you can take it if you want. You can take anything you like. And that's the beautiful thing about my adventure craft system and my standard equipment tables. I don't dictate to you or force you to take particular things. You can take whatever you like. That's why it's must have, should have, and can have. By the time you get to can have, you can take everything if you like on a half-day walk. If you're worried about, getting lost or something, you can have an axe, a machete, you can have everything you want. So that's why I have the gear rank and scale. There are just some things you must have, and then there are some things I think you should have, but you don't absolutely need. Everything else is can have. The 5th key element to adventure craft is the standard equipment tables. And that culminates and brings together the survival groups, the 4 outdoor scenarios, and the gear ranking scale. Each survival group will have that. It's going to be a table and a matrix that has all the gear that I advocate. Take tools and knives. I'll talk in a future video about the tools and knives that I advocate that you carry with you when you're out there camping. And again, it's broken down into the 4 outdoor scenarios. Across the top, the tools and knives down the list. And then the table is filled out with 1, 2, and 3, the gear rank and scale. Again, the knife, at least a smaller working knife, is a must-have for half a day. Then you build up to an axe. I can't say an axe is a must-have for half a day, even a one day, even a 24-hour scenario. You may not need an axe if you're confident of finding fuel out there for fire. But for a multiple day scenario, an axe will become at least a number 2, which is should have. Arguably, it might be must have number 1. So you can see how the standard equipment tables work, and you can do the same for each survival group. For every gear, you can have a standard equipment table with the list of gear and the 4 outdoor scenarios, and then the table is filled in with the gear rank and scale of 1, 2, 3. And the standard equipment tables, as I said, becomes a guide, a matrix that helps you select gear and build gear for any outdoor scenario, whether it's from half a day walk to a multiple day if you're going to spend days out there. I'll give you what I advocate and what I think you should take with you, or must, should, and can take with you for all those scenarios, and you can pick and choose yourself the must have, should have, can have. So it's worked out for those 4 scenarios. So that's where my system has a good advantage. I'm not dictating to you exactly what you need or what you can take with you. There are things you can leave out, there are things you can take, because I have that gear ranking scale.